Hello, I'm Jennifer Hallett, and I am with you on Awaken Nation with Brad Solis.
A huge shift is taking place on planet Earth. People seem to be waking up. Tired of the way things used to be, they are creating something brand new and changing the world we live in. My name is Brad Solis, and I get to sit down with the next generation of idea makers, the disruptors, and the game changers. Everyday people, just like you and me, from all over, who are doing amazing things to Awakened Nation. Hey, everybody. I have a great guest on today, Jennifer Hallett. And I got introduced to you, Jennifer, through Manny Wolf, a good friend of the show as well. So you're in
That's
good
it.
hands today.
I love that. I'm excited for this conversation. Thank you for having me.
Good, good. Hey, if you're an executive or a regular person struggling in your relationships, this is the show for you right now because Jennifer specializes in relationships, and we're going to have fun with this today. So buckle
Okay.
up, get a pen and paper. We're going to have some fun. Where are you hailing from right now, Jennifer, if I may ask?
I'm currently in Houston, Texas, from Canada
Yeehaw!
originally, but yeah, I've been a nomad for the better part of 8 years, so a little bit all over, but in Texas at the moment.
So am I. I lived in New York City, came to Las Vegas, then I moved to Denver, then I came back to Vegas, and I'm not moving anymore. I'm done.
You're
Done
cozy.
moving.
You're
Yeah.
comfortable. I love that.
I'm done. Hey, I'm going to read your bio real quick.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh, Jennifer Hallett is a mentor, confidant, and secret weapon for mastering life on all levels. Do you know that most people never receive the foundation they need to navigate love and life successfully until they work with Jennifer? As a no nonsense mentor, she cuts through the confusion of modern dating, relationships, spirit, mind, and body, all one, giving men and women the clarity, confidence, and skills to create a lasting connection. Whether single or married, the formula is the same. Strip everything everyone taught and forge a new foundation, guiding high achievers who are serious about thriving in every facet of their lives. And we're going to get started right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Awaken Nation, Jennifer Hallett. See, it's official now.
Love that. Thank you for having me.
So I want to get started with this. I had a good friend call me up, and he was having trouble in his marriage. Not that I'm any bastion of, I know what's going on, but I listened to the conversation, and after a minute or two, I started to realize between him and his wife, they were holding on to a myth of what marriage is and the reality of what marriage is. Let's start there. How many of your clients or people you work with do you see this sort of the difference between myth and reality?
I mean, I would say for the vast majority, that is what it looks like. Whether you're dating or married, most people live in an idealized version of relationship. And then for most of their life, will try to either live into the ideal or spend time trying to work on what they think they need to work on in order to achieve the ideal. So people
Hmm.
waste a lot of time and energy effectively trying to force each other into a box that
Hmm.
has been conditioned by a whole host of ways versus actually learning what it means to connect and accept and then grow with another human being. And I would say, so I had this conversation actually with a therapist many years ago because I've always been fascinated by relationships and love. And I remember sitting in therapy, and my therapist said to me, she said, "You don't need to be in therapy. You know this stuff. It's intrinsic to you. I don't know how you know it because, I mean, from where you came from, it shouldn't be the case, but you know it." And so I asked her a very important question. I said, "Okay, so I looked at the whole landscape of relationships, and everybody has this idea of what that should look like. It's almost like the fairy tale. It's easy. There's never any conflict. You just ride off into the sunset and it's happy all the time." And I said, "I know that that exists, but there's an element there that is missed in all of the conversation about love and relationships." And I asked her, you have worked with couples, you've worked with people that struggle in relationships. What percentage of people actually have that outcome? And she looked at me and she was kind of quiet because obviously, it's a sensitive topic in relationship.
Oopsie,
Yeah.
oopsie.
And she looked at me, and this is just one therapist, right? This is not, every therapist, but if we look at how rampant the coaching industry is and the therapy aspects of things, a lot of people are
Yes.
seeking out support. She looked at me in the eyes and she said, maybe 5%. And I was like, we're all in trouble. We're all
Yeah.
in from that
We
place. So yeah, I would say the vast majority do actually live in that space of idealization.
we are in trouble, ladies and gentlemen. You're Canadian, you said in the green room earlier, and I think because I'm just going to put it out there. I have an ex-wife, and she's more European. She's from the Caribbean, but she was raised in French culture, and
Yeah.
she told me Americans don't know how to pick a spouse. We have all these things, oh, she's so hot. I got to go out with her because she's hot. And then later on, and women may find this shocking, men are very, very different from women.
Yeah,
Men look at the visual first. And
right,
then later on, maybe we'll like your personality. But I know people who have spent their whole lives being married. They never really understood and made their wife their friend. It was just, she's hot. Let's have sex. Let's get married.
right.
Do you find that Americans are in general around the world, they don't know how to choose a spouse properly?
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to think about how the world is set up. The world is set up to feed pleasure and desire,
Hmm.
not depth and connection and intimacy. So it makes sense that, in a world that teaches men that having the hottest woman is the be all and end all of your status and worth, and then you realize as you age that you missed out on how to cultivate connection. That's why we see so much divorce. Because
Yeah.
if you're brave enough to look at somebody and go, dang, I actually didn't pick you from the right place, then you have hope for connection because you moved into a different place. But I don't think the world is set up to support people to move beyond surface advances because we're always looking to fill a picture. And then you just assume that the deeper foundational levels of communication, intimacy, the friendship, the true desire for somebody, the ability to withstand life together, because there's phases to life. You have to consciously choose someone every single day as you're moving, but most people are not taught that. Now, I would say in Europe, it's a little different because they teach and harness more traditional values,
Right.
but there still is misalignment there. And there also was misalignment here, like where when women, didn't have a lot of autonomy, they had to choose based on what was going to be and give the greatest benefit to her in life. So we have just not been set up as a society to actually cultivate connection, which would yield like a more satisfying sexual connection over time, which would yield the ability to connect with somebody in a more deep and meaningful way, that would not be a bunch of work to be with, but a lot more fun and adventurous and exciting.
I agree with you. There's sort of a template that I feel Americans especially have
Hmm.
just had removed. My dad being Hungarian, even he didn't have the skills. I mean, he raised me really, really well. I like the way my dad raised me. It was very more European model. I earned my freedom by doing the chores and doing the right things. And then I was given, plenty of leeway. By the time I was 18, I was hardly ever home, and my parents
Right.
trusted me. I
Yeah.
had proven that. But when it comes to relationships, even my father chose my mother because she was hot and she was
Right.
13 years younger than my
Right.
dad. And my mother was a nightclub singer. She sang and played piano.
So she
And
was beautiful.
my dad would come to visit her, and she was tiny. My mom was only 4'10".
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and my dad was 6'2". It was hilarious. Yeah, it was like the circus came to town. And so my parents, I could see uh, as this kid in between them that there was something missing, like that, like there was just something that wasn't there that was making that connection for them, and my mother yearned for that connection. So
Yes.
I agree with you on that one.
Yep.
So I want to dig in a little bit deeper because somebody did this, and I know this doesn't sound deep, but it is kind of. Some guy was comparing relationships, long-term relationships. It was a lawyer. I know what it was on Facebook, and he had
Okay, it's always the lawyer. Yep.
and he's a divorce lawyer, and he used the metaphor of loving your dog. So he goes, you have that dog and you love that dog, and that dog loves you unconditionally, and 12 years later, do you love that dog less? No, you love it more, and that dog loves you more, and you're going on adventures together. And he goes, that's the way marriage should be.
Yes.
But how do we develop the skills to have a marriage like that? I mean, what do we need to do? And
Yeah.
luckily, we have an expert here.
Yeah. Exactly. I feel like, we talked about this a little bit already. Familial foundation, it has a bias, and I always speak to the level of extraordinary relationships because if I think about what my therapist said, 5% of people are actually in that type of connection where there's this devotion that is evident and it stands the test of time. And the rest of us are just kind of wandering frivolously. So there is a real requirement to understand why you move the way that you do.
Hmm.
There's a reason why some relationships are mastered and some aren't. A lot of people spend more time trying to figure it out through trial and error that by the time they actually get there, they're usually too bitter and resentful to actually have an open connection. So a lot of times it really starts with how well you know yourself, how well you know your needs, your desires, and how much integrity you have to actually fulfill them. So when I think about a man, for example, if a man says, I want a woman that I can stand, that I can support, that I take care of, and I want her to be able to support me, and he's doing the work to do that, but then a hot 12 walks by, the integrity would be, yeah, I could have the hot 12, but she doesn't come with the part of the connection that I actually crave. And I would find that most men that will have walked that path, they will either develop into a man over time or they will never learn how to connect. So the connection starts with how well do you know yourself? How well do you know your intentionality behind your
Yeah.
relationships? How well do
Hmm.
you live into that? For women, a lot of times y'all get swept up in what a man does for you. Like a man can come in with a bunch of resources, open the door, wine and dine you, and 3 months later you don't recognize a person because that's not who he is. So
Yeah.
it requires a very deep degree of understanding and discernment within yourself, and then the ability to be present with another human without expectation. That's the
Wow.
hardest part for people. That's why most of what is taught, when I say you have to strip away what you've been taught, that's really what it means. Because every time we have an expectation of somebody, then we're not looking at that person anymore. We're trying to fit them into a box, and you
Yeah.
immediately start the resistance. So, most of what creates great relationships foundationally is how you operate in here. And this is the part most people avoid. Men will avoid it by going into a sea of women and pretending like that's what matters. Women will go into it by choosing a man that appears a certain way when he's not that way. And then everybody's hurting each other and it's not really fun. And then everybody stands on opposite ends of the room. So it stops the connection. It's inverted.
It's funny because I believe that men are more in the moment. Like what they see is what they get. I'm getting she made me a sandwich. She gave me a beer. We're watching football. Our moments are based on what we're doing, what she's doing. And so we measure it that way. And by the way, ladies, I hate to say it, but every time you've ever had sex with your man, he remembers it, every detail. We
Mhm.
we have a chart in our heads.
Oh, wow. I've never heard this before. So yeah, I love the visual.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we have a chart in our heads where we were, when we did it, how we did it. Yet we cannot remember that you said, "Hey, can you pick up some milk on the way home?" This is how our memories work. So
Right.
just so you know, we're visual, we're tactical, all these things. But you are so right on what you just said. But I was on another show, a podcast, Michelle Sorrow, and
Mm.
they asked, they wanted to ask me as a spiritual man because I like, delving into, the spiritual aspects of life, meditation, praying, doing all these things. And the question that the audience asked me was, a lot of them were women and they had husbands that weren't spiritual. And here they
Sure.
are now in the middle of this relationship. And I gave a good answer, but it wasn't a real answer. And the
Okay.
answer I gave was, you know what, just keep doing what you're doing. Don't expect anything from him. He'll follow eventually. And the real answer should have been, we are in a day and age where relationships that are no longer serving our greater good are just being broken and dropped away. That's
Right.
the answer I should have given.
Mm.
Do you find that's true? Is it very hard to work with people nowadays? Um, do they need to split up, or is there common ground that you can build from?
So it's interesting because, yes, I believe that when you're unable to be in a connection wholly, then you are automatically starting that relationship or connection off at a disconnect. People don't really know how to connect to love. And when you talk about spirit or being spiritual, that really is a loaded, leveled experience. And so when I talk about relationship mastery, there's levels to this. At the lowest level, it's very primal. It's very physical, it's very chemical, and there is no depth. But because we're always wanting to connect to love, which is the highest part of our ability to be loved and be loving, you have to elevate. And that's everybody. That's not just men, that's not just women. So, from the spiritual aspect of things, I think that when people have an understanding, a lived understanding from spirit into body, when it comes to love, then we would have different experiences. If a man understood spiritually what his responsibility was to a man, sorry, to a woman as a man, relationships would look different. If women understood who they were spiritually from God to body, they wouldn't be available to men that didn't meet them at the
Mm.
depth of their own being. So there's a lot of disconnect because people don't have a connection to their spirituality. And
Wow.
there is a lot of breakdown. So I have corrected marriages. So marriages that are on the brink of falling apart. I have a woman and she's on a call and she's crying with me and she's like, it's not going to work out. And what I've realized is she has actually separated herself from love in the equation. And when we correct that, the relationship magically restores because you
Wow.
can't actually break love. You can't.
Yeah. The opposite of love is actually anger and hatred.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, you know, when we talk about the opposite of love, um, the true opposite of love is you don't really care. You don't
right.
care. But if you're angry, you're upset, you're broken, you still have love there.
Sure.
You know, fascinating stuff. Somebody uh, wrote this on Facebook, and I had to correct them because there is a huge disconnect between how women think and how men think. And I know I brought that up earlier, but
Yes.
here, this was fascinating. A woman who is very feminine, you know, in the feminist movement, she was saying, you know, a friend of hers had just told her husband that to be, they were about to get married,
Mhm.
that he wasn't the guy she would have chosen 10 years ago because she didn't find him attractive or sexy, but now she does. And she basically laid it out that she had slept with all these men, but now she wanted to settle down with him. And he wasn't like, you know, let's put it this way, he wasn't the Andy Garcia of her life.
Sure.
And this woman couldn't figure out why the man wanted to break off the wedding and wanted to walk away and leave. And this woman that was posting this, she was very like, you know, self-righteous about it. And I just wrote back, I said, hey, sorry to break your bubble, but men don't think like that. What you basically just said is, I have slept with all these men, done all kinds of nasty things, but now I want you to pay my bills. Do you find that to be true? That women really, men and women, I'm not blaming women, you know, men think very differently about how women should respond and the emotional side of this. And women, on the other hand, look at men and have these expectations, as you spoke about in the beginning.
Yeah. So it does exist on both sides. And because for the greater large of humanity, I would say. Obviously, in earlier times, you didn't have as many options, right? That
Right.
was the
Yeah.
only thing is like, you might have had three people in your village and that was what you had, but
I
now,
like I like Heather because
yeah,
can
you like,
weave. She
yeah,
weaves a basket like no one else. Yeah, I get it.
exactly. But now we have this endless sea of possibility. And the problem is that this is why people disconnect because everybody feels justified. Each gender has their set of rules and expectations. And so when somebody doesn't live into that, all of a sudden you're at odds and you can't connect.
Right.
Very few
Right.
people understand that if you met somebody with curiosity, that you would actually connect more. And I don't think the man is wrong.
Yeah.
So he's not wrong because how many times, and men do it too, the common saying when it comes to women is he won't marry the woman he wants, he marries the woman that's in front of him. That's
Yeah.
the same kind of idea. What are we doing, guys? Like, seriously, in what world did we stop actually looking for people we want to spend time with for however long we want to spend time with them?
Yeah.
Doesn't it make more logical sense to off the hop pick somebody that you're like, I love the way you look. I'm attracted to you. You meet me mentally. You meet me spiritually. I love hanging out with you. You are so much fun. I could see us, but we communicate well. You don't run from my emotions. Like, why do we not look for what we want instead of settling for something because it looks okay? And then people question why people are getting divorced or why you don't get along because you don't even like that person. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, that's common ground though. It's like, how did you end up there? How did you end up with someone you're not attracted to? That's crazy to me. That's actually crazy.
Jennifer, I thought you were the expert in this. This is the dance.
Yeah,
This is
I
the
know the dance is
this
great, but so
we
when I mentor people, it's like you start with the highest version, not the build up. Like the buildup has a level of risk that's insane. Like, start at the level where you're like, oh man, I really at this point don't have to change anything. I
right.
fully accept that person and I enjoy them. And like, let's see if we keep choosing each other because it's looking good right now. I don't know. It's simple, but it's also like so complicated for so many people.
Well, I think there's a lot of things to unpack there, and one of them is we thrive on the chase. And I've learned this in my own life. Being in my 60s now, I think I got it.
Never
But
really did.
I started dating in New York City when Madonna was in the clubs, so
Mm,
it was a little easier back then. But I think what happened is we said this before, men are very visual. So are women to a point, but they're thinking more in terms of, can I have kids with this guy? Is this guy, there's a whole other layer that men don't realize that women are looking at when they look at you.
sure.
And the thing is I think we get addicted to the chase, and it actually becomes the dance, as they call it in psychology, and that is the man goes, I think you're really hot. I think you're beautiful. And the woman's like, get away from me. Get away from me. And then the guy goes, she doesn't want me. So you turn around and now she turns and she's like, oh, wait a minute. He doesn't care about me. So I'm going to chase him now. And it's like this codependent, dysfunctional thing that we've been raised to kind of normalize in our society and in movies and television and everywhere else. And the reality is if I had to do it all over again, I would look for somebody who was not only spiritual, but hung out at Star Trek conventions.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, but that's my common thing. I'm a nerd. So what that does is it provides on my list of what I look for in a spouse intellect, God, and this love for science fiction and more
sure.
intellectual debate and discussion. And I think I've found that right now. My fiance Tao,
Yeah,
I don't get it perfect, but she and I have so much commonality
yeah,
that and compatibility I never realized before. And that's the one thing I thought to myself, if only I had looked for that when I was in my 20s or 30s.
yeah.
Do you agree on that one?
Yeah, so this is the foundation, right? I mean, there's social foundation, there's familial foundation, and then there's now we have this inundation of love and relationship, dating, everything. So how do you even get there? And this is foundational. The foundation is who am I? So how do I contribute to relationships? Who am I? Am I
Right.
chaotic? Am I peaceful? Am I, and like every woman's different. Every man is different. So there may
Yeah.
be commonalities that are conditioned, but every person has a unique subset of qualities. And you're right. Like what you're not taught is a connection that has spirituality, so God first, um, a foundation of character that is pleasing to the other person and vice versa. It's mutual. You're moving in the same direction and you accept that for that person completely and wholly from the start, not when they get there, from the start. And you have a certain intellect and understanding emotionally, spiritually, physically, then you don't have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
There is a lot of chasing. You actually get to just live life. And people who understand the character is more important. I mean, yes, the attraction should be there. Why would
Yeah.
you not want to look at that person and be like, I got to have you all the time? Like
Yeah.
we want to have that. But
Right.
you don't have everything else, then it's empty. And what I find with men specifically who have gone through the physical first chase, when they get into their 40s, they're like, none of that was fulfilling.
You're right.
Like it was fun and I did the thing. It's what I was told to do, but like now what? So, and women too, same thing. They look for what they can be provided for and what they can get from, but they're not looking at the whole man going, okay, some men really are the guys that come home from work and they sit on the couch and they play video games. They might
Yeah.
not be great spouses. They might not
Yeah.
be able to clean the house, but women are not trained to look at the character either. So
Yeah.
this is where understanding those foundations and then being able to integrate them into real life, it's a new way of being, I guess. I think the more correct way in order to achieve love and connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's harder nowadays because women now can make a lot of times more money than men. So
Abs-
they are still looking for the leader in the household. I mean, I hate to say it, but the tradition has always been the man is leading and the woman is kind of management. I teased my girl, Tal. I'm talent, she's management because
Yeah.
she runs our roost. And I listen to her, I do everything she asks. And that doesn't mean I'm a pushover. I mean, my
Oh,
thing is I did this is something I've always done in my dating life and in life. I would tell them on the first date, just wear jeans, just be simple. We're gonna have conversation. I'm not gonna tell we might go to a movie, but I want to go to a dinner and I want to talk.
yeah.
And most of the women I've had in my life, they found that incredibly refreshing. I didn't try to impress them. I've dated women who, they've been taken out by billionaires. How am I gonna, compete with that?
Right.
So I'm not. I'm just
Yeah.
not. I'm more into the connection part. But when I met Tao, the first thing I did is I took her to the gun range because
That's
that is
amazing. Love that.
that is
Yeah.
one of my things. I like going
Yeah.
to the gun range, and I hired a friend um, who is a special forces instructor, and so that was our one of our first dates. My second date is I took her up into the mountains with her dog because she loves her doggy. So I said, "Come on, we're going on a hike." So we took the dog up, and I brought treats for the dog and all that. So to me, this was I'm showing you how I live my life, and if you want to join this is how I am.
Yeah.
And the first thing she said, I laughed at it. She goes, "You're a real man." I looked at her like, "What are you talking about?" Because she grew up in California.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
So enough said.
LA. So yeah, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And I grew up in Pennsylvania where, people were hunting and fishing. I was fishing and, I learned how to shoot a gun at 10 in the Cub Scouts. Okay. So this is a whole different world that most people aren't used to, but I decided I wanted to show her who I am. I like to light a fire, pour a glass of wine, and smoke a cigar. Once every 6 months, I'll smoke a cigar because I'm not an
Yeah.
idiot. I don't want to kill
Yeah.
myself. But this is my nature. And if you want to join that, I will love you endlessly. I will never cheat on you. I will be your rock
Mm.
in this world. That's who I am. Uh, and do you find this is probably what I need to ask you. What is the big lie we all tell ourselves? What is the big lie?
So I feel like I love how transparent you are about who you are.
Mm,
That's such a key foundation. How many people in the world don't actually lead with who they are?
yeah.
They lead with what they think the woman wants, or the woman will lead in a way that shows the man that she's the perfect catch. So you spend the first 6 months to a year posturing for one another, and then you get to 12 months and you're like, who are you? And sometimes
Right.
it's longer for people. Sometimes you're married to the person and you're like, I don't know what happened. And so I think that that's a key foundational piece is that people have forgotten that to find the love of your life or to be in relationships with people you actually want to be in relationships, you have to be willing to show who you are. And that's your interests, that's your emotional range, that's your communication, that's your ability to ask. So, like, I think a lot of women don't realize that men are creatures of service.
Oh, yeah.
Women will go in servitude to a man and wonder why he runs from her
Yeah.
because he's like, what are you doing? Like, I don't need you to do this. Like, what are you doing? And with men, it's like they feel like they have to, you talked about the billionaire, that they have to pull out the bells and whistles to impress a woman. But when the connection is there, it's there.
Yeah.
And so whether you're a billionaire or not, like the love is is what matters. But also it's okay to want what you want. So if she had come into your life and was like, "Hey, you are a man, but I don't know that I like these activities and I don't
Yeah.
really want to participate," then it wouldn't have been a fit. But we're just so fixated on trying to be for instead of just considering, you're considering someone.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not rocket science, but it's not taught either.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I want everybody to understand something. As we're talking here, you need to really, if you're choosing a spouse or a mate, or if this is your second or third or fourth go around, the key is the foundation underneath all of that beauty. And so if you have commonality, belief in God, you like the same activities, you seem to get along really well with money and finance. Everybody argues over those things, but if you seem to have at least a flow with that, but you still have to find them attractive at the end of the day. I hear all these people going, I married my best friend. Bill Burr had a show years ago, his own podcast, and he was talking about this guy, and the wife was, cheating on him, and the reason being is she married her best friend, but she wasn't attracted to her best friend. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I think about again relationship excellence, it's across the board. If you want a healthy sex life, you need someone you're attracted to. You need someone you can't keep your hands off of. And a woman wants that. So like a lot of women might be timid to talk about that, but a woman wants to be handled by her man. But if he's not attracted to her, it won't happen. And if she's not attracted to him, she's going to treat him like a, for lack of better words, a peon.
Yeah,
Like, thanks for being here, but I don't like you.
right.
And it needs to exist. And this is why it's like, okay, we can live on the shelf that everybody's living in, which is the posturing, let's fit everybody into a box, we're not actually connecting, and then we get married and we have the house and the picket fence, but no real substance. Or we can elevate our ability to relate, which is a skill set. It's not something spiritual, it's not something you leave up to chance. And from there, you elevate the baseline. So if
Yeah,
you have a foundation and you're like, no, it's not enough for me to just have a hot woman. But for some men it is, and those people find each other. But I want to take the 5% and switch it. Like, why can't the norm in love have a higher elevated standard where you are being, and I think that it's happening now because with women having a little bit more autonomy, they're starting to realize that they can actually have a choice in the matter.
right.
But a lot of them come with a lot of bitterness and resentment from past experiences because they weren't taught what to do and there's no discernment and they're really angry. So they're processing the anger. But once that happens, I think what we'll find is we'll see more men wanting to step up to the plate because they'll be like, oh my gosh, this woman has everything. She's intelligent,
Yeah,
she's beautiful, she's radiant, she's whatever. And more women will be looking for men that come with that already. So elevating the baseline just really says, what is the foundation I'm operating from?
yeah. Jack Nicholson said it best in one of his movies. He said, "You make me want to be a better man." You know?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that was as good as it gets, something like that. I forget what
Yeah.
it was, which one it was. Um, You were talking about in the green room how the masks need to drop. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so when I think of dating and relationship content or what your parents effectively taught you or what society expects out of relationships, more often than not, both a man and a woman are holding up the ideal. They're holding up the ideal for as long as they can. So it's if I'm the provider man, I'm going to go ahead and show you that I'm the provider man, but maybe I don't even have the resources to substantiate that. And if I'm a woman who says I'm feminine, then I'm going to be polite and gracious and soft and but on the inside, I'm a direct, I don't really put up with BS. So like you have two people who've gotten together and they've been holding these masks, and then eventually the masks drop, and you can't even start the relationship until you can see the person.
Yeah.
You can't see the relationship.
I want to talk about this because sometimes the woman has a wounded masculine. Her dad wasn't good to her, all these things. And she gets together with a guy who has a wounded feminine. His mom wasn't there. She was, abandoned him on some level, even though he was in the marriage. So, do you find that a lot of times with people?
Yeah, I mean, if you as a person have never known what love actually feels like from not and I think we need to kind of redefine what love is, because love is not just the feel good, happy, sunshine and rainbow feelings that Disney would share with you.
It's
Love
not.
it's not. I mean, real life isn't like that. It's like just strip away another person, look around. Some days are great, some days suck. Like it's the same with relationships. So real love comes with a full transparency. The closer you are to someone, it's impossible to hide. If you have a
Yeah.
porn addiction, you're not going to be able to hide that from somebody that lives with you. If as
Yeah.
a woman, you don't have any clue how to ask your man for what you want, these are relationship cultivation skills.
Yeah.
Like there's a skill set, it's a foundation. You cannot go anywhere without it. And if you choose to get into a relationship with someone, and and when you talk about playing off of wounds, playing off with wounds literally means I did not cultivate relational skills through my environment. So that
Mm.
is yielding a very specific relationship. So if that relationship is sucks for me, I think we've been sold a lie. We've been sold a lie that relationships have to be tumultuous, that they have to be hard, that you have to be in a constant state of learning and growing and maneuvering with each other, when love at its truest form is actually very easy.
Yeah.
And so if you don't know that, if you didn't grow up around that, if you don't have any examples to draw from, then it's you. You are responsible for your output and your experience. So for me with my clients, when a woman comes in and she's like, well, I'm ready. I know that I'm ready. And I listen to the language they're using, like, why won't he text me back? Why? I'm like, why are you so expectant of someone you don't even know?
Yeah.
Take your time.
Wow.
Like, just take your time. And but again, these are simplicities that we were robbed of, and then we just walk around picking the same relationship. And instead of going, wait a minute. So I always say the most elevated people who understand excellence in love, they will either know that love is being returned to them through experience. So people will show them, they will have everything to write home about. They'll be like, wow, this is great. Or they will be provided with a circumstance. So the circumstance could be he cheats on you, uh, she cheats on you. And from there, you have to develop something new to move into something different. So the circumstance is actually not a time to victimize. It's actually a time to come together and go, where am I being led back to love? So more often than not, when we have infidelity, sometimes it's just a mismatch of alignment. The love is, I made a bad choice. I, this is not the relationship for me. Or I'm actually responsible for the disconnect in this relationship. Can we move together to recommit ourselves to something new? But because people get derailed by the circumstance that's being created by their wounding or their masking, they can't even get back to the love from that place. But everything that's happening to you is always leading you to that place. That's why when you get out of a shitty relationship, the next relationship is marginally better because you have you have cultivated some growth. It's just most people are inchworming through life instead of saying, wait a minute, I'm the problem. Let me just go ahead and get this configured and then go have a chance out there. And then, see how I am with other people. But we're just, the wounding plays a part in your ability and awareness to be able to select something different or deepen in yourself, in your own character to go, wait a minute, if I am loved, if I am worthy in love, then it has to look like that. And if it's not looking like that, then what's my contribution? What am I accepting? What am I consenting to? And how do I show up so that that's my baseline? That's it.
Wow. Wow. That's heavy.
I
Very
mean,
heavy.
it's
Good.
accountability. Relationships are a responsibility. You are meant to serve and consider the people in your life. And if you can't love, consider, and serve the people in your life, then they're not people that should be in your life. And if you can't serve people in your life, then you should not be in relationships. And that's my opinion. Figure it out.
Jennifer Hallett, ladies and gentlemen, mic drop.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. I get on a soapbox every once in a while because it's just like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like God is like, what are you guys doing? You idiots. I really do sometimes feel that way.
I want to talk about love languages.
Sure.
And someone laid this out. And for those of you who aren't familiar with what love languages are, this person wrote a book about what really makes us feel loved. What is it? Is it touch? Is it gifts? Is it action? Is it providing, financial support? Everybody is different. And this is why you'll see odd couples out there in the world because he is providing her love language. And for me and Tao, it's touch and, affection and deeds. Okay. So once you discover that, it's almost like, yeah, and by the way, you don't sit there and say, well, those aren't my love languages. You listen to your spouse and you kind of go, okay, that's your love language. Let me see if I can meet that need. But
Yeah.
someone said this best, and I think this is interesting. Our love languages are a reflection of our traumas.
Yeah. I actually wrote that in a post. I'm like, I hate love languages because they're literally a fragment of what love is. But I'll let you
It's
continue.
it's what you didn't receive as a kid. Like, I didn't receive a lot of attention as a kid, even though I'm an
Right.
only child, because my parents were busy. They were trying to make a living. I see that now. They did their very best. But you sit around in life bitch pissing and moaning that they didn't do enough. So your expectation is up here, because you're watching too much goddamn TV. Sorry to swear.
Yeah. No, it's
um,
not. Yeah.
but the reality is everybody's doing their best.
Yes.
Everybody's loving you. Yes, if you need a little more affection, let the person know. If you need a little more touch, if you need a little more time. But I think the hardest thing for me to learn was this. The woman in my life, I used to always think we have to be doing something for her to have that memory that this is an awesome moment. And the
Right.
reality is, she loves my presence.
100%.
That's it. Why is that? What is it with women?
It's not even it's not even just women. I think when a man has been in the presence of a woman that has presence, it would be very similar. And I
Yeah.
very much agree with you on the love languages. They are rooted from trauma. They're based on the things you didn't have. It's already starting your love experience in lack, which makes you ungrateful for the other things.
Yes.
The consideration, right? I think that one of the things people are not rooted in when it comes to relationship is when you find somebody that you've actually selected and there's a bond there and you know that it exists and there's like all of the alignment, as you're saying, the compatibility, you then want to serve that person.
Right.
You want to serve them.
Yeah.
And a woman in the presence of a man who pays attention to her is priceless. And if that man has the aptitude and awareness to pick up on her and her
Yeah.
nuances and what she needs, like maybe she's having a meltdown and she needs a snack and a nap. Like if you as a man can pick up on that and be like, babe, we're getting chocolate, and then you're gonna go ahead and sleep for 20. And she's like, I don't want to. And then you're like, but you're doing it. And then she wakes up and she didn't even know that she needed that.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
don't look at her and say you're in low blood sugar.
Yeah. I mean, I
Just
would receive
just
that.
hand her a candy.
Yeah.
Hand her something. Here,
Give
eat
her
this, honey.
something
I,
delicious. And
I,
like,
I'm take a bite of it first, and then go, here, you want some? Let her snack on it. Oh yeah,
right?
um,
So
I've
I
learned
think,
that.
yeah, sorry.
No,
You look
I'm
at,
saying women have a very different way of communicating, and I learned this a long time ago, driving
yeah,
on the highway with a significant other, and we're driving past a restaurant, and she looks at me and she goes, "Aren't you hungry? Don't you want something to eat?" And I go, "Nah, not really. I'm going to keep going."
yeah,
And I think by the third restaurant we passed, she finally loses it. She goes, "I thought you were hungry," and it turns out she was hungry.
right,
It's like
right.
it's a trap. If she asks if you're hungry, it's a trap.
Well, but this is again, so first, we talk about foundation. You first have to understand yourself and what you want, but then you actually do have to learn about the person you're with, and you have to be comfortable asking for what you want. So I think a lot of women have actually been conditioned to be quite timid to understand the function of a man.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
if I'm in the presence of the man that I'm with, I'm asking for what I want. I miss you. I need your presence. I would love a hug. I really need like I just need you around. I just need you around me. Um, is it okay if we do this? I'm hungry. Can we? And more often than not, the more directive you are without being demanding, there's a difference.
Right.
Then men, like I have found that men actually start to pick up on your needs because you're more communicative. And then they're like,
Right.
oh, when she's operating this way, she needs because you are logical creatures. So like once you figure out the formula of the woman you're with, then it becomes very easy to please her. But when it comes to the love languages, it's so limiting. So
You're
for
right.
me, I would have said in the more traumatic aspects of my life, quality time would have been really important. But now I love being touched. I love when people do nice things for me. I love when people are considerate. And the more we expand what's possible by paying attention to one another, then the connection deepens, the enjoyment deepens, the stress reduces, and the fun and peace enhances.
I think this is fascinating what you're talking about. I think sometimes we've been so traumatized and hurt in the past. We think that our spouse or significant other should be psychic, and
Right?
we can't ask for that because then that's a sign of weakness, or that's a sign,
Right.
that we got from our parents because they were like, I don't have time for you. And we're afraid to ask, hey, I need a hug right now.
Yeah,
Even men, even me. I
absolutely.
come home from a hard day and it's like, hey, baby, get over here. I need a hug. I don't just want a hug. I need a hug from you.
Yeah, you specifically. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody else. There's that old saying where the wife goes, shout it to the world that you love me. Shout it to the world. And he turns around and he whispers in her ear and he goes, I love you. She goes, why didn't you shout it to the world? He goes, because you are my world.
Oh, that's lovely. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. It's true. I think if women understood men more, and I think again where we've lost a bit of foundation is that women in their own hurt have found a way to dehumanize men,
Yeah.
like really dehumanize men, and men then of course because they're dehumanized dissociate because they're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
be the bad guy all the time. So like I don't know what to do here. I can't help you. And again, it comes back to the foundation of connection. And what I have found is that when men know what to do, they do it,
Yeah.
especially when it comes from an open, loving place. And then from there, when a woman is truly being treated correctly, then she will look to serve a man. She'll be like,
Right.
oh, she'll notice that you're stressed out and she might come and like massage your head. Or she
Right.
might bring you a drink because she's like, oh, he's been working. I gotta, let me help out.
Right.
This is a loop, like it needs to be complete before that actually
Yeah.
happens. Yeah.
It's very interesting. Guys, sometimes when you load the dishwasher and run it in the middle of the night, you just do it.
Marriage safe.
It's no man has ever been killed while washing the dishes, as they say. Uh, what you're doing is women have a tendency to feel more overwhelmed than men,
Yes.
because they take on more, and it's all the fluffy stuff we don't gravitate towards naturally. Okay, men feel stress when they got a 30 projects to complete by a certain amount of time. That's when we feel stressed. And we're okay with a 10-minute or hour-long nap, get up, grab a sandwich, and go. We can do that. We're built. We have testosterone to do
Yep.
that.
Yep.
But with women, they, and I've learned this the hard way, men have boxes, and some of those boxes are blank. We have nothing in them. We literally can sit there and not think of anything. Whereas women have boxes with subjects in them and five subcategories. So they're having trouble choosing. It's not, women are not indecisive. They have more choices than men. Where men have five choices in their heads, women have 36 for this same subject. And it's why men look like, decision makers and conquerors and all this. Women see multiple aspects of things. If they do this, this will happen, this will happen. If they don't do this, that they're thinking of everything. Am I right on this, or am I out there?
Yes. So what I will say on both sides is there's various developmental stages. When you head into legacy or where you are in a maturation where the bullshit, pardon my language, doesn't really fly anymore. Like the
Right.
surface level stuff is kind of boring. You have a life, you want it to be enhanced. You're not really looking to just have somebody standing beside you looking cute. Then you need to find a woman that has a level of emotional maturity, understanding, and wisdom because she ultimately does have the capacity to think like 700 brains. And when we understand our functionality as we've been conditioned, it's then where we can take relationships to the next level. So when you understand a man and how he works, and then you understand who you are as a woman and what you're complementing that, then you both serve a function to each other. But women who have not developed their maturation in that get overwhelmed and then they're looking to be saved by the chaos versus harnessing the chaos and having clarity. Because a woman with sufficient maturation isn't always confused.
Right.
And she's very intuitive.
Yes.
She's
Women are
not,
very intuitive.
yes, and not taking things personally.
Right.
So there's not a reaction to her man, there's a compliment to her man.
There you go.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm the perfect balance in between because I'm an artist. I'm more of an empath. I come from the heart, but I definitely, do guy stuff. That's
Yeah.
just me. I like it. So I feel I'm a good balance, and I think the modern man is kind of in that zone. Before I ask my next question, how do we get a hold of you for coaching or to just see what you're doing? Or please let us know.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm on Facebook. Jennifer Hallett. You can just search me. I'm there. And then I have a website, which is jenniferhallett.com.
That's with two L's and two T's, ladies and
Correct.
gentlemen. We'll have that in the show notes. Um, before we go into our lightning round, I have to ask you this.
Sure.
I grew up in an era when, my grandfather got older. My grandparents still had sex. They weren't
Yeah, love that.
prudish
Nice.
about it.
Love it.
Uh, but we've had a lowering of testosterone in our society, and there is a concern that the human race will not be able to conceive much in the next 5 years.
Right.
The testosterone levels have dropped so dramatically, especially in this next generation, that we will become infertile by 2030. That's only 5 years from now. But now, people who are my grandfather's age, which I am at that age now, um, they're getting testosterone injections and they're taking all kinds of stuff. And I think we're out of balance now because grandpa used to be the bastion of wisdom when he hit 60. And now grandpa's running around trying to get laid. Sorry to be crass, but this is what's
120
going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Has this ruined society, do you feel?
So, I mean, I feel like nature always rebalances itself, and that's kind of what we're experiencing now. So, I truly believe if the foundation was laid properly, that men would not have the options they have now.
Right.
They wouldn't have options. It is a disservice to men to have women at the ready at any time, any place, anywhere,
Yeah.
because it is a distraction from his purpose, his life, and his ability to actually be a man. And then because most men are not living their life in a way that makes them feel powerful, they are then looking to distract. So what I
Right.
see happening currently is that, again, because women have been given a sense of autonomy, they're getting a little bit more intelligence, which is why they're maybe not as available as they once used to be. And
Hmm.
maybe they're being a little bit more selective about who they have sex with. And maybe they're thinking beyond just what a man can do for me and thinking more about, can I have children with him? Like, would he be a good father? Does he
Right.
like they're considering at a level that's higher. So it makes sense that there would be a bit of a pause to allow for that natural restoration because I believe that we're mammals and that it should really look like this. A woman should know who she is and should know that as the birthing person on the planet that she needs to be selecting the most adequate mate. That's on the primal level. She needs to be scanning the environment and going, which man is going to bring the most fruit to my womb, but also to my life?
Yeah.
That's a woman's function. A man should be busting his ass in his own life and being on top of what he needs to be doing and looking for the woman that he's like, if I procreate with that one, my legacy grows because she has the emotional intelligence, the wisdom, the spirituality, the gods, like the center of God. She's got all these things. So if I procreate with her, all that comes out of that is love. But right now it's the reverse. Every man has 75 options, so there's no real reason to work. There's no real reason to step up and elevate as a man and work on communication and
Right.
seeing what it means to because any woman, if a man has resources, is like, well, you can have me. And even if you're not nice to me, you can have me. So the rebalancing, I think, is actually very adequate, despite I think so the other thing I want to say about that is why are we having children when we're
Yeah.
not adequate human beings?
Yeah.
This is why we live in the world that we do, is because you were taught to go to school, get married, buy the house, have a child, and there's no depth to it. It can't sustain
Yeah.
itself. So the
It can't.
inversion of that is a correction. It's a correction. Yeah.
I think COVID, the pause, let's call this the big pause. I
Yeah.
think COVID reset people's minds because
Yeah.
they realized they were getting up and going to work and trying to get there by 8 a.m., traffic, everything. And now they had to figure out how to make a living just being at home. And they
Right.
realized they could live actually quite nicely driving, delivering food, driving Uber, selling stuff online, Etsy, all this stuff. Why am I struggling to make a living? They stepped off the rat race. I also think that couples were forced, during the lockdowns to look at each other and it's like, hey, I married you because I thought I loved you. Now I can't stand you, So divorces went through the roof. We now have a movement that is in response to women standing up and saying, I choose bears instead of men. Yeah,
Mm.
I don't need a man to do what I do. We have a movement called Men Going the Other Way. And they
Sure.
just are hanging out with other men. And it's not gay. It's just, hey, I prefer your company. And we also have a generation, I hate to say it, that's split right down the middle. Half of that generation are high achievers, want to start businesses, want to be entrepreneurs. And the other half of that generation is sitting in the basement playing video games. And some of them are making money playing video games. But like I always say, if you love video games that much, go build them. It's
Right.
very easy to do that nowadays.
Right.
So, what do you think my assessment is on target at all?
Yeah, I mean, the world will not sustain itself as it's going. And I think that with
Yeah.
COVID, it was a wake-up call. So it really set people apart. Like I remember how many people's lives were burning around me, and I had gotten myself to a place where I was laughing. It's when, I felt very comfortable. I wasn't fearing anything. I didn't even fear the disease itself. I or the virus, pardon me. And I was just, for lack of better words, I focused on my body and I focused on my health and I started talking to people. But this is a perfect example of the levels of life. And when you realize what really matters, it's always going to come down to love and connection. And it was a giant wake-up call that the things didn't matter. So here you have all these wealthy people with designer bags in their closets going, well, where am I going to wear these now? What's the point? But you will
Yeah.
see also that as COVID picked up, a lot of that resumed. And there is a segregation there. And with women saying, I choose bears, I mean, the truth is, here's what I see. There are a lot of men that are not great.
Yeah.
And ladies, if you're watching, a lot of you suck too.
Hmm.
Like, we can't just point fingers. When a woman owns her authority, she doesn't run into men that are predators. And if she does run into a predator, she's like, you're kind of not it.
She spots him right away. Yeah.
She spots him because she's not a victim to her reality. So if you stay in the we choose bears, then guess what? You're a victim to the wrong kind of man, and you will never see the man that knows how to be there for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer Hallett.
Oh, thanks.
Fantastic conversation today here on Awakened Nation. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
you're not officially a Texan, but thank you for coming in from Texas. Are
I
you
mean, it's
thinking of
I like it.
say that over again? I'm
It's
sorry.
very warm, and I appreciate that. I love the warmth.
Me too. I got tired of the snow. That's why I moved out here. I love
Yes.
it. So, I am going to ask you three questions in our lightning round. Are you
Okay,
ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
Um, what is your favorite memory?
So I was in Mexico, and I was in Bacalar, which is a lagoon town that's freshwater. It's not a lot of people know about it. It's kind of a sanctuary. And I remember laying there, and it was early in the morning, and I was woken up by the glow. There was just a glow. It was like that warm glow, and it was a sunrise that was starting to bud. And I opened my eyes and I looked out of this window, which was like a picture window, and the most incredible sunset was just lighting up the sky. So I put on an oversized sweater, no pants. I thought, you know what? I need to go seize the moment. And I ran down to the dock. It looks like a Maldives dock where it's just like kind of in the water. The water was so still that I could see right to the bottom, nothing was moving. And I sat down on the dock, and this sky just kept painting itself and painting itself. And I remember actually weeping because I felt like God had painted it just for me. And it was one of the most stunning moments of my entire life.
Wow. I
Yeah.
love that. I can actually see it right now because I've been to
Oh,
Mexico. I've been
yes.
on the West Coast at Puerto Vallarta, and I would get up and I remember not just the sunrises, but the sunsets.
Oh, yeah.
I never
Spectacular.
miss a sunset here in Vegas because they're magical.
Yeah, the
It
desert
really,
does something. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Great memory. Love that.
Oh,
My second question is, you're Eastern European. You talked about this in the green room. And is there something in your upbringing, your parents being from Eastern Europe, a Czech background, is there something in that that you think maybe you could say is the key to your success?
yes. So my grandmother, great grandmother, immigrated from the Czech Republic, and she had a little wooden suitcase, and that's all she brought. And she actually, at that time, had answered an advert in the newspaper to come and support a man in Canada. And that is such a adventurous, for that time when there's people around you, like to be so bold as to just pick up and go for
Yeah,
some random person in Canada. It really helped me understand that I have always had a thirst for experiencing the most that I could out of life. And
right.
I wasn't born into much. Most people would never know that about me because of the level of transformation, and I would say testimony, and my very sharp sense of faith to kind of move into the unknown. And my great grandmother, she was terrifying. She was a spitfire. And I would say that there is a precision and directedness that I carry, because if you've ever been to Czechoslovakia, like, those people are, they're on it. And
Yeah.
I feel like that did help shape me into somebody that just really didn't tolerate anything that wasn't of the utmost of quality. And that it led me out of a lot of the realms people struggle in, like poverty and generational mindsets and illness and not having a lot of experiences in life, to completely transcending that and moving into a place where you could not place me in that environment. And I attribute that to the core of this woman who lived and breathed at one time.
I believe that wholeheartedly. The power of, my Hungarian immigrant grandmother.
Right.
She came to the United States in the 20s, and when the Great Depression hit, she was running, managing all the schmata factories, as they call it. They did the fabrics in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. She was running several factories and managing these Hungarian women because she was the only one who could speak the language. She was making $800 or something a week, some astronomical
That's
amount of
great.
money
Yeah.
in 1930s, and opened her own dress shop eventually.
That's
She was quite rich, but you would never know it. And it's that Eastern European sort of gumption, I would say,
yeah,
that you inherited, I would say. Definitely.
absolutely. Yeah. I ran with it,
Excellent.
that's for sure.
Excellent. Beautiful. My third and final question is, what is your greatest hope for yourself and your own relationships?
You know, I've always been attuned to love. I don't know how that happened. Nothing in my life that I was presented with would have suggested otherwise. For me, it's crazy because I live the dream every single day.
Mm.
And for me, that's where I give it up to God because I don't know the greater picture fully. All I know is that the more attuned I am to love, to life, and how I consider others and my life with them in general, I just don't feel like I can lose at anything. So my greatest hope for me is not so much hope, but that I continue to walk bold enough in faith, knowing that what I can conceive of isn't even the top.
Boom. That's all I have to say. Boom. Ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer Hallett, thank you so much for being on Awakened Nation. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been a great conversation.
Definitely, definitely. I also have to thank Manny Wolf. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Manny.
Yeah, great introduction. Thank you, brother. Hey, everybody, don't forget to tune in next week. We're going to have another extraordinary guest here on Awakened Nation. Until then, bye bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you so much for being a big part of the Awakened Nation movement. This is how you can help me and our extraordinary guests. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and share this episode out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And let's grow this movement by word of mouth. Our success is because of you. Thank you, and see you next week.